We're honored that you took your precious time out of your busy schedule to join us. So please share in the chat what you hope to get out of today's session, followed by emoji of your favorite fruit or vegetable. Oftentimes we don't get to use those emojis enough, so have some fun. Try to find your favorite fruit, vegetable, and if there's anything that you really want to get out of today's session. All right. Leslie has the carrot. I put watermelon just because right now we have some visitors and my kids, they're teenagers. They just hate cutting it, but once it's cut, it doesn't stay. All right. Is that asparagus? Peaches? Okay. Green thumb. Way to go, Kyle, with the pizza. That's excellent. And he wants how to have a better green thumb. Is what one of the things. Ooh, avocados. Yes, Lisa. Make me some guacamole. Ooh, peppers. Carolyn, I did not know that about you. Samantha said, learn more about finding local sustainable food, which is excellent. Another avocado lover by Abigail. Thank you. All right. Well, like I said, my name is Kelly Silverman. We'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on Harvest Your Health. Once again, we're honored that you really took this precious time out of your busy schedules. I know times can be hectic, but I believe you will enjoy this presentation. And Leslie, who I'll introduce in a bit, is so wonderful, knowledgeable, and inspiring. So a few housekeeping items, however, before we get into today's topic. This webinar will be recorded and emailed to everyone in attendance, along with the slide deck. The recording will also be uploaded to our Healthier Together YouTube channel. So when it comes to our webinars, our goal is to really engage and connect, interact with you as much as we can throughout the course of the presentation. So please feel free to utilize the chat, add comments, or ask questions, and we will respond throughout. Otherwise, if we don't get to your question, we will follow up with you individually. And one last slide before I turn it over to our guest speaker today. Here is your beautiful total well-being specialist from left to right, the Flex King, Kyle Rains. Give a little hand raise. He's based out of OHQ. And then we have our positive posture expert, Isaac Floss at Race Creek, who will be joining in a little bit. The infamous aerobic choreographer, Jimmy Kemp at the Pyramid Campus in Memphis. He also may be joining a little bit later. Myself, Kelly Silverman, I'm typically at the Mountain View office. The glue that holds our entire team together, Carolyn Rice at Mounds View, and the zen Jill Factor at Lafayette. So we are all here for your whole well-being, regardless where you reside, and hope you will connect with us through Microsoft Teams, our weekly live offerings, or other various platforms, which we will share at the end of today's session. So enough about us. Let's get into today's topic of Harvest Your Health with registered dietitian Leslie Mathiasmeier. So she's from Bon Appetit and has been with them for 6 years, supporting accounts throughout the central region. Her approach to nutrition emphasizes balance, developing a healthy relationship with food, and she believes food is our fuel and our connection. It's an experience to be enjoyed down to the very last bite. So please join me in welcoming the knowledgeable and inspiring Leslie Mathiasmeier.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you all for having me today. I always enjoy presenting to you all as part of the Medtronic team. You all are so wonderful. I mean, the interaction just alone in the chat right now is always so fun to see, and I really love bringing you all some information. So as Kelly said, I am Leslie Mathiasmeier. I'm a registered dietitian. I actually live in the Kansas City area and then support our Bon Appetit accounts that are through like the central part of the country. So for you all in Minnesota, that would be you. I hang out there at those Minneapolis accounts, but do a lot of great things to help support both our team and then obviously partner with you all there on campuses. So I'm particularly excited about this topic. I don't want to say that I have a green thumb because I think that sets me up for my garden, everything in my garden just going like blah and not lasting throughout the rest of the summer. I don't want to jinx myself, but I love gardening. I grow both flowers and things that just look pretty, but then also do have a pretty abundant relatively vegetable garden too. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this. And then obviously as being part of Bon Appetit, we are leaders in sustainability, leaders in purchasing local and fostering those local partnerships. So it's something that I'm very passionate about just in my work with Bon Appetit. So excited to talk about this topic today. So as part of our agenda, we're going to dive in first in talking about the relationship between nutrition and gardening, and kind of set the stage in talking about how in general we nourish our bodies, and then how the nourishing of our bodies can be done by consuming locally grown foods. So throughout this presentation, we're going to look at how nutrition impacts our health, the advantage of supporting local agriculture, the advantages to gardening on our health, and then some practical strategies for integrating these practices into our daily lives. Now that we've set the stage, let's go ahead and dive into the foundation of our discussion, the importance of good nutrition in nourishing your body. So proper nutrition is fundamental for our overall health and vitality. It involves consuming a really balanced diet that provides essential nutrients such as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, which are our macronutrients, as well as vitamins and minerals, so our micronutrients. And we can't have one without the other to have that proper balance. We need to have all of those macronutrients present and in the right amounts and the right proportions, but then also have a really wide variety of different foods in order to make sure we're getting all of those different vitamins and minerals. So a balanced diet, it supports optimal body function. This includes energy production, our immune system strength, organ health, all of those good things. So all of these different nutrients that our bodies need, it's needed in order to just keep us moving and grooving throughout the day and keeping all of the systems within our bodies going, but then also keeping them healthy so they're healthy in the long term. So research consistently shows that a diet rich in fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, they can help prevent chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and certain types of cancers. So by understanding the role of nutrition in our daily lives, we can make ourselves feel empowered and knowledgeable in order to make informed food choices. So when we talk about balance looks like this plate image that you see here, and I'm sure you've seen different versions of this plate in different ways. Definitely, if you've seen one of my presentations, you've likely seen this image, but you've also likely seen it in other forms, because we have what is called the My Plate method that is really prevalent in order to show us visually what the balance looks like. And so by having this balance and having these proportions within our plate, you can see half the plate being fruits and vegetables, a quarter of the plate being those whole grains, and then the other quarter being lean proteins, and then healthy fats either on the side or added within the cooking preparation of those different foods. That's how we create that balance and manage to make sure that we're getting all of those macronutrients. And then through variety in those different sections, having different colors, textures, all those good things, we're making sure that we're getting all of the other micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, to create that balance within our diet. So let's dig a little bit deeper and appreciate even more what that balance of nutrition looks like. So in order to do that, it's essential to understand kind of those small building blocks of our diet. So let's take a little bit of a deeper look at our macronutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. These are the nutrients that are they provide energy in the form of calories to our diet. So they are the ones that are giving your body the energy that it needs to keep going throughout the day, whether that be just keeping our hearts beating and our lungs breathing, or if you have additional activity on top of just, your body staying alive, say you're a runner or a weightlifter, or if you do yoga, whatever it may be, or if you are an avid gardener and you're moving your body more, these are the nutrients that are providing you the energy in order to do so. So these are these different individual macronutrients are needed in different proportions, and you could kind of see and get a little bit of a hint as to how much of these different macronutrients we need based on that plate that I just showed you. So the majority of that plate that I showed you on that last slide are carbohydrate sources: fruits and vegetables and whole grains, all carbohydrates. So about 3/4 of our plate are going to come from carbohydrates. And that's because this macronutrient is the primary energy source for our muscles and our brain. And just in general, it's what our body prefers to use as its optimal energy source. As our body breaks down carbohydrates, they become glucose and they become circulating within our blood. And our bodies can either use them for immediate energy, or our body can store them in form of glycogen in the muscle and the liver to be able to tap into those later when it may need it. So our foods that provide the most carbohydrates, again, fruits, starchy vegetables, things like beans, lentils, peas, our whole grains, really any of the things that fall within a fruit or vegetable category, or any of our grains, you're going to get carbohydrates from those foods. Protein, our next macronutrient, is made up of individual amino acids. These individual amino acids, you kind of can think of them as almost like Lego blocks, like little bitty building blocks that fit together in a certain way in order to provide structure to cells and different tissues within the body. And this could be tissues that just kind of naturally turn over, like our skin cells, hair, different things like that. But they also are building tissues like muscle when you're exercising and you're doing things to the muscle in order to break it down and build a faster or bigger or stronger muscle. Protein is what is going to rebuild those little building blocks, the muscle, in order to repair it. Protein is the most effective when you eat it throughout the day. So kind of evenly distributing your protein throughout the day is what's most effective in order for that building to happen. You can get it from different plant-based foods like beans and legumes. Even whole grains have protein in them. Nuts and nut butter, different soy products, all of those have protein. They might not be primarily protein, but I think it's really awesome. You can have a whole grain. You can get, double bang for your buck. You can get some carbohydrates, which your body needs a lot of, but you can also get some protein too. So it's a win-win there. But then also you can get any of your protein from different animal products as well as seafood. Any of those, your milk products, all are going to have protein as well. Our last macronutrient, fat, is needed for normal function of your brain and for your nervous system. So we definitely don't want to get rid of fat. We need it in order for those systems to work appropriately. And you also need fat in order to absorb certain vitamins. So our fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, vitamins that you definitely need. And for a lot of us, vitamin D in particular is one that a lot of us tend to be deficient in. You have to have fat in your diet in order for those different vitamins to be absorbed. So some healthy sources of fat include any of our plant-based oils, avocados, nuts, seeds. Those are all of your plant-based sources, but you could also get some healthy fats from oily fish, from things like sardines or from salmon. Any of those are going to have a good amount of healthy fats as well. So understanding the roles of these different macronutrients kind of show you how important it is to have that balanced diet. So you can't have one without the other, and having the correct proportion is really how we optimize how our bodies work. And fortunately, all of these macronutrients, you can get them from plants. So you don't have to only rely on animal products in order to get protein, for example. And as the science is more developing, kind of how we are going about making recommendations for an overall healthful diet, increasing the amounts of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, all and more plant-based foods are really where we're seeing the benefit to longevity and reduction in those chronic conditions. But you don't have to fully dive into plants in order to reap the benefits of plant-based eating. You don't have to say you're a vegetarian. You don't have to say you're a vegan. You can, the balance that we're talking about here can include some animal foods, and you can enjoy them as part of your balance within your diet. But just incorporating more of these plant-based foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, those plant-based fats, and having them take up a larger proportion of our meals is where you can have more nutrition within your diet, and have more of that balance while including still animal products if that happens to be your choice. So now we understand better the significance of nutrition. This leads us into how can we enhance our diets through the concept of eating locally. So let's first define what eating local means. Eating local refers to sourcing and consuming foods that is grown or produced within a close geographical area. This practice, the practice of purchasing local, promotes environmental sustainability by supporting the local agricultural practices, by farmers growing more food. It enriches the soil. It protects the biodiversity of the soil and the overall ecosystem. It keeps that ecosystem healthy. Local foods are often unmatched when it comes to freshness, comes to taste, and nutrient content compared to foods that are maybe imported from other areas, or foods that are maybe more mass produced and grown on in that way. By supporting our local farmers and those food producers, we're contributing to the resilience of our community's economy, and to the food system. And then lastly, embracing local eating not only benefits your health, but it also creates this connection and kind of a more deeper understanding with the local food sources, as well as the different seasons and seasonality of foods. Eating local brings a different connection that you have to your food, especially when it comes to fruits and vegetables, because you're better understanding the true flavor of the food and having that appreciation for the food, because you're getting the most optimized, the best, tasting and flavorful fruits and vegetables by purchasing them local. So as we consider the benefits of eating local, it's really important, I think, to recognize what local foods have to offer. Local foods have minimal transportation and storage time, which means that nutrient content within those foods is preserved. Studies have shown that locally grown fruits and vegetables contain higher levels of our vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, all of those different things, compared to a counterpart of that same fruit or vegetable that had to travel a longer distance. So by consuming seasonal and local source produce, we align our diets with the rhythms of nature, and we enjoy a diverse array of flavors and textures throughout the year. So you become more aware of what food is in season and how it tastes when it's in season. Not only just the benefits of local, you better kind of understand that produce and understand the flavor of food. And when you start to do that, what starts to happen, this encourages a more varied and nutrient-rich diet. So by better understanding and appreciating and just really liking the flavor of these different fruits and vegetables because they are grown locally, you're more likely to choose them. You're more likely to cook them. And so by cooking them more often, eating them more often, that's where you start to reap the benefits of these plants, and having that overall support for health and for vitality. It's a really great way to really great and delicious way, I should say, to prioritize your nutrition, but also supporting sustainable food practices. So while purchasing local and seasonal produce can enhance their nutritional value and support our communities by reducing environmental impact and supporting local farmers, it's important to recognize that access to local foods isn't universal. So different factors such as geographical location, seasonality, economic constraints, all of these things can limit accessibility to fresh and local produce for some individuals and communities. So as we're talking about all of these different items, even though local is, the topic of what we're exploring today, it's really essential to note that plant foods, regardless of their source or form, whether they're fresh, frozen, canned, dried, any of those things, they have an abundance of nutritional benefits for you. They're all rich in essential vitamins, minerals, fiber, phytonutrients, all of those things that support our overall health and well-being. Overall, just in general, increasing your plant foods into your diet can contribute to better health outcomes, regardless of whether they come from a local source or otherwise. So while we're striving to include more local seasonal produce, remember that even the smallest amount, if that's what you have access to, is beneficial to you. And even if you have a mixture of both canned and frozen vegetables, or some that were kind of grown in different areas, and then you have just maybe a few herbs or whatever it may be that came from a local source, the benefit to your diet and to your nutrition is still there and still is going to be optimized. So if you want to kind of start gradually working in these local foods, start by planning your meals around those plant-based foods. So just starting there and incorporating more plants in general is a great place for you to start. And then you can start to gradually incorporate more local foods, the ones that you do have access to, or you do see more often, or maybe you're taking something from today's lesson and learning to garden on your own, even in a small container, and you're incorporating those into your meals. That's a great way to start along this journey. You can add them within your meal plans. You can have different meals where you're balancing animal proteins along with plant-based proteins. So again, you don't have to go completely vegan or vegetarian in order to reap the benefits of eating more plants. You can do a mixture of both. You can have plants really shine on your plate and then have some animal protein that is kind of maybe the co-star on that plate versus being the star. So remember, I think, in general, as we're talking through all these things today, remember there's no strict rules to this. There's not a rule book out there that's telling you this is right or wrong. You choose what works best for you and for your circumstances. So let's start with how you can find some of these nutritious local foods in your area. So one that many of us are familiar with is farmers markets. They're a vibrant hub where you can connect directly with the local farmers and different artisans as well, where you can get those fresh seasonal produce items, and you can get a lot of other goods as well. So you get, breads or jams and jellies, and you can get oils, and lots of different things are available at the farmers market. It's a great way to support local agriculture, and then also enjoying the different flavors of the season. Even if you don't purchase anything at a farmer's market, you can learn so much by just, going there throughout the season and seeing all of the different fruits and vegetables and items that are available and how they change throughout the season. It gets you more connected to saying, oh, well, tomatoes are not available in March, but they are available towards the end of July and August, or however that changes. Everyone here is in a different part of the country, so that's going to look different for everyone, but you start to kind of create better that connection just by exploring the farmer's market and looking around. The next way that you can connect with more local foods is through community-supported agriculture, also known as CSA. And I've been seeing kind of in the peripheral here, lots of people who are saying that they have a CSA and they participate in the CSA. So you can take a peek at the chat there to see where they're connecting for that. But these are a kind of subscription service, if you will, where you'll receive regular deliveries of fresh local grown produce. Often you can customize these to suit your preferences based on the fruits and vegetables that you'd like to have, volume. So if you want to get a smaller box versus a larger one, you can usually customize that. It's a really convenient and direct way to support local farmers and make sure that you're having more of a steady supply of those nutritious and seasonal foods. And then I think one that we don't think about, but we, maybe sometimes start to do in trying to support more of the local food system is in when we're eating out. So it's not necessarily the foods that that you are growing or you are receiving, like the raw ingredients that you will cook. But then it's also participating in more of those local restaurants that are prioritizing those locally sourced ingredients on their menus. So these dining experiences, which your Bon Appetit cafes are included within that, they not only showcase the freshness and the quality of those local foods, but they're also the ones that are really supporting the local economy and those sustainable food practices. So 3 different ways. They're certainly not an all-inclusive list. Lots of different options that are out there, but these are 3 of the top ones that many people participate in. So whether you're purchasing your produce at the farmer's market or you're getting them at the grocery store, which you can find some items that are labeled as local from your local grocery store, depending on where you're shopping. I think it's important to know how to even choose those fruits and vegetables. So we have some of our Bon Appetit chefs got together and they gave you some different tips here on how to choose those fruits and vegetables. You can see the whole list there. If you scan that QR code, it'll bring you to our website so you can get the whole list and reference back to it again later. But some of the things that they noted when planning your shopping, select a variety of produce with different shelf lives to minimize waste. So if you get produce, some that has more of a short, some that has a medium, and some longer term shelf life, that you can have fresh produce that lasts, anywhere from maybe a couple days or throughout the week or even longer than a week. And this can help you with shopping trips. It can help you when you're feeling like maybe you're in a rut and you don't really know what to cook, but you want to incorporate something plant-based. So keeping a variety of those different kind of times can help you there. If you go to that website, to our site there, there's a great article that links out in there that kind of shows you, even has an infographic of what fruits and vegetables even fall within that short, medium, and longer term shelf life kind of span. And when you're searching for these different pieces of produce, your 5 senses are what are going to be key. So you're going to look for a deeper color within these items. You're going to smell them for sweetness, check firmness, but you don't want them to be overly soft. Sometimes there's samples. So a lot of time at the farmer's market, the farmers will have different samples of their produce. So you really can taste the items that you're going to be purchasing that day. You're going to listen, say like if you're choosing melons in particular, watermelon, Kelly's favorite that she threw into the chat. If you knock on them, you're going to hear that hollow sound. By hearing that hollow sound, it means that a lot of the water has come out of the melon. And so it's leaving you with more of that sweetness, and the sugar has developed more within the melon. So you want that hollow sound. So use all of those five senses when choosing your produce. And then last, proper storage is really key. Know which fruits and vegetables need refrigeration, which should stay on the counter. How should you store them? Should you break them down? Should you wash them when they first come home, or will that make them not stay as fresh for as long? I used to be so dedicated to putting my tomatoes in the refrigerator. And I remember seeing, I think it was on the Food Network, this little is like a little skit saying, stop putting like this talking tomato saying, stop putting me in the refrigerator, because tomatoes, they don't want to be on the refrigerator. They will be best and stay fresher for longer if they're sitting on your counter. So you learn something all the time, but knowing how to, yeah, Holly said the same thing. You're supposed to keep those on the counter, but learning something new all the time, but knowing is how you're really going to keep those fruits and vegetables fresh for a longer period of time. So purchasing local, obviously, it's a great way to support your health and the community, but there's sometimes it's not as accessible for everyone, and sometimes you even have an interest in growing your own produce and having these things being even more hyper local, right outside of your door. Gardening allows you to have a complete control over what you eat from the seed to harvest. You're going to have really definitely fresh produce if you go and you pick it right outside of your door and eat it that same day. That is what a lot of people are wanting to know and wanting to learn more, and I know just by looking at the chat, it's something y'all are interested in too. So let's explore more about how gardening it definitely supports your nutrition by having that local, even hyper local produce, but has a lot of different physical and mental health benefits as well. So beyond just the nutrition that the food that you garden brings to your body, it brings you a lot of both physical, mental, and emotional benefits as well. So engaging in gardening activities such as planting, weeding, harvesting, all those things that are necessary, and sometimes unfortunately so, for gardening, is considered light to moderate, depending on what you're doing, physical activity. And having that physical activity, moving your body, is great for your cardiovascular health, muscle tone, flexibility within the joints, all of those good things. Your Healthier Together team is more attuned to be able to talk about those things, but I'm sure they would agree with all of those physical health benefits that come from gardening. There's also mental health benefits, though. So there's studies that have shown that spending time in green spaces, connecting with nature, all those things that you participate in through gardening, it can reduce stress and anxiety, all those things which can overall improve your mood, promote relaxation and mindfulness as well. And then with gardening, it also provides a really great educational opportunity, both for you and for your families, to learn, how does a plant grow from a seed to, a full plant and then bear fruit? And then how does that cycle, what does that cycle look like as it continues? You're learning about soil health. You're learning about sustainable gardening practices. Year over year within gardening, you learn more and more and more. And it's a great educational opportunity, something that you continue to learn as you continue to do it. So now that we've explored those benefits of gardening, let's start talking about more of those practical steps so you can start your own garden and reap all of these benefits. I messed up my slides here. So before we do that, let's talk a second about nutrition. How did I miss nutrition in this one? Sorry. So you're through gardening, you're going to grow those nutrient dense fruits and vegetables, herbs, all of those that we've already talked about the benefit of these foods when it comes to getting all of your macronutrients, micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all of those good things. By incorporating more of homegrown produce in particular, you just by kind of the satisfaction of growing these foods, and then you're more likely to incorporate them into your diet because you want to experience them. So again, you're increasing the amounts of fruits and vegetables you have in your diet by participating in gardening. You kind of get that kind of built-in reward system, if you will, of enjoying literally the fruits of your labor. It brings you that sense of accomplishment, the connection to the food that you're consuming, and then kind of reinforces a commitment to nutritious eating habits. So you may be gardening in the summer and learning and loving these different fruits and vegetables, but that consistency and that build up of a love of plants, if you will, continues throughout winter months and months where maybe those items aren't as available. So you kind of create a layering of appreciation for more plant-based foods. All right, so now let's dig in and talk about some more of our gardening basics if you're wanting to kind of start this on your own. So whether you're a novice gardener or you have some experience, starting a home garden really can be a fulfilling journey that yields fresh, nutritious produce literally right at your doorstep. So starting a successful home garden means first scoping out your area and finding an area that makes the most sense location wise. You want one that has really good sunlight over like 6 hours, maybe up to 8 hours throughout the day is going to be that full sun. And you also want it to be a space where you can provide really good quality soil and water, of course. You want to consider the size of your garden space, whether you're going to have traditional in-ground planting, maybe you're going to opt for raised beds, or maybe container gardening is what you are looking at. All of our spaces look different. All of our want to kind of dive into this looks different. So maybe if you're a little bit apprehensive, start with a container, move to a raised bed, and then eventually, go out and plant something in the ground. You can start small and get something big later on down the line. Again, remember, there's no rules to this. And then once you've kind of established all of those items, start to choose plants that thrive in your local climate and are hardy in your climate and will produce fruit within your climate as well as your soil conditions. So you can get your soil tested if you are going to grow in the ground. There's usually an extension office close to your home where you can bring a soil sample to them and have it analyzed. And your extension office is a great place for really knowledgeable individuals to talk to them about, okay, so which plants, knowing this is what my soil is, will work best for me. So like ahead of time what plants are going to work best, and then know which plants you're going to plant in your garden. You also want to choose plants that maybe are a little bit less fussy as you're beginning. If it's something that if that's something that you're kind of starting out on, there's certain plants, maybe like cucumbers or zucchini, depending on certain pests, that can be really great starter plants for you. And you can begin to kind of develop your skills as a gardener and then move on to more tricky plants along the line. You're going to learn even more, again, from an extension office or from different resources. There's different ones online where you can learn techniques such as proper watering, how to fertilize, pest management, all of those different things. You'll begin to learn over time. So don't feel like you have to do it all at once. Some of those things you just kind of learn as time goes on. There are going to be different challenges when it comes to gardening. One of them we've already kind of talked about is space. If you do have limited space, there's vertical gardening, which is great, where you're using more like trellis systems or even hanging baskets or vertical planters. If any of you remember the topsy-turvy, that was a great one for if you have limited space where you could grow tomatoes or even strawberries, just by hanging it on like a deck or like a porch. You could even go for raised beds that they don't have to be in the ground. They can be like what you see in this photo, like on a concrete space. Any of those are great when it comes to if you have a little bit more limited space. Those time constraints as well. If you do have more time constraints or you're just wanting to kind of start in gardening, plant a much more low maintenance garden with more easy to grow crops that require minimal attention. You can also choose to have a more automated irrigation system or choose self-watering containers. So if you don't feel like you can dedicate full time to always getting out and watering, sometimes multiple times a day when it gets really hot in the summer, some of those options can be really great for you. Pests are always going to be there in some way, shape, or form, and all of us throughout the different parts of the country are going to experience different ones. However you choose to control those pests is kind of sometimes up to personal preference. You can try different things that work for you when it comes to either deterring things like bugs, or maybe it's rabbits or squirrels or deer in your area. You kind of choose what works best for you. You also think about soil quality. How do you provide all of those nutrients back into the soil so your plants can grow, just like we need nutrients? Plants do too. So how are you going to fertilize? You can do that through composting. Mulching also can bring quality back into the soil. And then you can also think about seasonal challenges. So there's going to come a time where certain seasonality of certain plants is not going to continue. So you can extend some growing seasons if you have a cold frame or row covers. If you have larger space, you could do a hoop house. Any of those can extend the growing season of your vegetables, your fruits and vegetables as well. You want to know a little bit more, here is a great site, again, on our Bon Appetit website, that gives you more information about how gardening can enhance your health and well-being. Great tips, more in depth than what I've provided here, so you can have some further reading. So now that you've had all of these different pieces of produce, how do you make it last so you can enjoy your garden's bounty all year round? While it's a really easy task in most parts of the country, and to garden from late spring through early fall, eating seasonally can be challenging during the winter months. So how do you have all of these different your produce year round? One way to extend these is through canning. This is a preservation technique where you're going to heat food in jars, killing the bacteria, and then it's usually a brine or sometimes flavoring and whatnot goes into those cans as part of the canning process. It's really important to follow tested recipes and have proper canning techniques and procedures if you're going to delve into this. Just from a food safety standpoint, you want to make sure that you are following all of the rules when it comes to canning. But it's a great way to keep a lot of that produce for a long period of time. Freezing is another way that you can preserve that produce. It works really well for fruits, veggies. You can even do it for herbs. You just want to make sure that you're using containers that are for the freezer, and it'll keep things a little bit more fresh. And you can use them throughout those winter months. Some other ways that you can preserve food is through drying. You can dry herbs, you can dry fruits and vegetables. You can pickle, which is you can do a quick pickle just in the refrigerator using a brine or like a vinegar solution. But you could also do pickling in the form of canning by having those things like pickled cucumbers, beets, onions, peppers, any of those can be pickled. And the last one, root cellaring. This may not be something that is for everyone if you don't have the space, but this is a way that you can store more of those root vegetables, carrots, potatoes, onions, squash, garlic, any of those. If you have a cool, dark space within your home, you can store those items in certain ways in order to prolong their shelf life. So the reason behind for keeping all of that produce for a longer period of time is so that we're not having waste. We want to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So there are some different ways that you can reduce the waste that comes from all of the produce that you purchase. Not only that you garden or purchase local. If you're interested in some items that you can regrow, this is a great part of our website where you can regrow certain vegetables like romaine, leeks, green onions, even potatoes, you can regrow in order to reduce waste. So as I leave you here, I wanted to give you a couple of things just from a culinary standpoint where you can start to really enjoy those fruits and vegetables. You can scan here and learn a new culinary technique in order to really enhance how much you are going to enjoy those. And then you could always get creative as well. There's often some overlooked parts of fruits and vegetables. And by being able to utilize them and getting the nutrition from them and kind of reducing waste as well can be a fun way to enjoy your food. So you've all been sharing some great resources in the chat, but here's some additional ones here. If you're wanting to know what foods are in season, you can go to that guide. The Farmer's Almanac is one that I know I reference a lot. A guide for canning and freezing, and then a great book recommendation for you there, but lots of them also in the chat. Here's my information. I think I've seen some different questions in the chat, and I can answer those as they pop up. But let me pass it back over to Kyle to wrap up the end.
Yes, thank you. Great stuff. And I love the conversations that we were having through chat. So one thing that I did just throw in there is if for anyone that uses Viva Engage or just would like more gardening information, definitely check out Gardeners of Medtronic. I don't frequent that as often as I probably should with the knowledge that I have with gardening and the things that I do with my garden. But yes, you might be able to get some great information, insight, recommendations as well. Um, but yes, as a quick reminder, we will share the slide deck and we will upload this recording to our YouTube channel. So if you want to revisit any of the content, you can check out the entire recording off of our YouTube channel. Yeah, we'll definitely send out an email. But for now, before I conclude it, some upcoming events and opportunities that I'd like to share with everyone. So the first one being our Move It Medtronic 5K. Kind of an early announcement here, but September 18th, which should be a Wednesday, we are hosting, our 14th or 15th annual 5K. This can either be done on site if you live here in Minnesota. We gather at Mounds View. We have some Medtronic sponsored vendors and some local community vendors that come out and you can get information. We have a DJ that comes, a Medtronic employee DJ as well. But then we do a walk or a run 5K just around the Mounds View campus, just kind of celebrating movement and wellness through physical activity. If you do not live in Minnesota, but still want to participate, in the last few years, kind of throughout COVID, we opened it up virtually as well. So doing your own 5K, or just getting out and moving. I know in the past some people have hiked and taken selfies and shared it on our the Healthier Together Viva Engage community. So it's so fun to see others who are partaking in the festivity as well from all around the world. So yes, that QR code is there if you want to take a picture of it right now and register. Or when we send out the slide deck, you can click on the link and be taken to that registration form. The next little thing I'd like to share is something that we do completely free to employees, to teams, to groups across Medtronic, but we call them custom wellness activities. You may have been a part of one, you may have seen my face or Isaac's face or someone else, but this is a great option to provide some sort of wellness or just a little bit of a breakup in maybe a meeting agenda, just to provide some wellness, some movement, maybe refresh the minds of your participants. Things from stretching, guided stretching, maybe a guided meditation, even to things that are maybe a little bit more involved in the sense of like a lower intensity, beginner friendly yoga, or maybe you want information like this one. We can do wellness webinars that we have done in the past. So lots of opportunities. So again, QR code or click the link. We have just a little bit of a form to get some general information from you. And then one of our well-being specialists will reach out to you and get you kind of coordinated and set up for your specific date or special event. And then the other thing that I wanted to share with everyone is coaching. We have a few people amongst us well-being specialists, a few clients that we support just through coaching. Nothing that is always like really specific to, let's say, health coaching. So that's why I listed here a couple of those options being like accountability coaching. So maybe you just need that little extra help, or you just need someone to check in with you once a week or once a month. You can get connected with us. We can meet with you virtually. We can also meet on site if that's an option, and just kind of help you through your goals, maybe challenge you in a little bit in some ways to maybe help you get there a little bit quicker, but all in just kind of that good positive outcome, and just kind of supporting your the life challenges as well. And then finally, personal exercise programs. If you do need to mix up what you're doing in the gym, your workouts, or you just need some more specific direction, we are all capable of writing out programs, meeting with you, and making sure that you understand the movements, feel confident doing the movements, and something tailored to your goals. Signing up for the coaching sessions, Leslie, if you can go to the next slide, is just simply reaching out to us. So Carolyn, myself, Kyle, Isaac, Kelly, Jill, and Jimmy, we are all accessible for those coaching sessions. You can either email us directly if you want a little bit more insight on maybe what our specialties are, or maybe a little bit of our philosophies. The link to our SharePoint site goes directly to our Meet the Team page. So you can kind of see where our backgrounds are and kind of maybe get a sense of who you might fit with the best. But that is how you get connected with one of us for the coaching sessions. We'll move on to the next slide. I think this is where I get to wrap things up. So yes, Leslie, thank you so much for providing all this information about the nutrition benefits, but connecting it to locally sourced foods, farmers markets, all that stuff. It got me kind of the wheels turning again on like what's available in my area, what's community supported agriculture programs, or even just farmers markets that I can just kind of quick swing into, and maybe take 10 minutes before I get home to walk around and see what's available, because it is very important to support those small businesses, those local farmers, and like what Leslie was saying earlier with the nutrition portion of things, it is very true regarding those fresh, like basically from the ground to the farmer's market, you're going to get the most nutritional value out of those compared to maybe an onion at the grocery store that's been shipped and stored in a shipping container for however long it is. Local foods, eating fresh, does not have to be kind of super challenging. Even getting started in gardening too. There's a lot of basics. I have been really interested in the square foot method of gardening. So if you don't have a lot of space, maybe you have a 2 foot by 4 foot section. This is a great way to pack in a lot of plants to get a lot of different varieties of vegetables. Even for like container or those, I think of like for like people that might live in apartments on a balcony, there's like those balcony containers. And like lettuces don't need a lot of soil depth to grow. And so you can have fresh leafy lettuces that you can pull right from that container, wash it off and make a salad. But yes, very important. Love the information. Thank you again, Leslie. And I did wanted to leave a quote. I was just looking for something fun, and I found one from a chef. He said, "Great cooking is about being inspired by the simple things around you. So fresh markets, various spices, maybe even the things you grow in your garden. It doesn't necessarily have to look fancy." So thanks everyone for joining. We'd love to hear from you, maybe an action item or something you learned today. Type it out in chat. We have maybe 20, 30 other wellness webinars from the last, 4 years or so. So if you want to see all of our different wellness webinars from the past, you can click that link when you get the slide deck. And if you want to stay in touch with some of our virtual offerings, or even stay connected with us, you can join our Microsoft Teams called Total Wellbeing, and partake in and engage with us in any way you like. But that is it from us. Leslie, if you have anything else you'd like to conclude.
I don't. I appreciate you all again for having me. Thanks for all of the great talk in the chat. It's awesome to see that collaboration. And yeah, I look forward to the next one. Thanks again, everyone.